Hi, I'm David Gambrell, Editor-in-Chief at Canadian Underwriter and host of CU Interview, a new segment of our award-winning podcast series, What's on Deck. CU Interview is a chance for us to meet the many people who make up Canada's P&C insurance industry. For this episode, I sat down with Joe D'Annunzio, President of BrokerLink, one of Canada's largest brokerages. I asked him how he started in the P&C industry, how he became a broker, what he likes about working in the industry, and what advice he has for people who are either new to the industry or who are thinking of working in the industry. First off, what everyone wants to know, how did you get involved in the Canadian P&C industry?
So, David, like probably a lot of folks currently in the insurance industry, I accidentally fell upon it. Coming out of university, I was looking for my first job, like most do, and I answered an ad in the newspaper looking for a management trainee at the time, and I responded to the ad, and that's the first time I even pondered at first, it was a job that I was going to answer to make some money, and then it became a career. So really, I'm very grateful and lucky that I fell into this wonderful industry that's taken care of me and my family for years. And now 40 years later, no regrets at all.
Can you tell me, what did you graduate doing?
I have a business degree in finance. And so I was just looking for work, and I didn't care where I went. I'm sure most people are in my shoes. You finish university, you're looking for your first job, you're trying to pay some bills and get out of the house, right? And so that's how it happened. I had two other interviews. One was in manufacturing, and one was it was kind of a sales role. And I went to three interviews, and this one was the one that piqued my interest, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, let's explore the history a little bit more. I was curious, once you started into the industry, tell me about your career path.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
So I started first with a direct writer, Allstate Insurance in Canada. Fantastic training program for new people in the industry at the time. This was in the late 80s. And it was a management trainee where I was in the operations, and I'm going to date myself really badly here, but I started as a supervisor in Key Punch, if you believe it or not. Most people don't even know what Key Punch is, right? It's before computers.
What is Key Punch, just for those who may not know it?
Right, exactly. Key Punch back then they had the big, huge computers, not the computers at the desk. And I had a team that filled out all the transactions on this machine called the Key Punch machine, and then it would be fed into the old computers. And so it was in the accounting department of Allstate. And then about a year and a half later, I got to understand the industry a little bit better, and you had to be in sales and in the operations part to learn insurance, because in accounting you're not really learning insurance. And I took the step to go into become an agent and sell. And so I sold small business, life insurance, and auto and home. So back then, Allstate had all three that they were selling, and it gave me a really good grasp of all the different insurance products, what it would take to sell. And back then, you did it the old-fashioned way at the kitchen table with customers after dinner and stuff. And so that gave me the start. And shortly after that, I relocated to the U.S. After I got married. My wife is American, and so I started on the company side. I had the sales behind me, and I started as an underwriter for a large corporation in the U.S. And from there, I got promoted to marketing and sales. Jumped to another company, Kemper Insurance in the U.S., pretty large insurer. I worked my way up, became a director of operations and sales, and then the biggest risk I took, a chance that propelled my career, is I met a couple guys through work that were doing a startup brokerage in Pennsylvania, and I joined them as a partner. And it was a risk because I was doing fairly well on the company side and making a good steady paycheck with two young kids. And I decided to risk it all and start a brokerage from scratch, which I look back and think, wow, was that the sound thing to do? But that worked out as a broker. And then I did the broker piece as a partner. We built up the book quite large over a 1.5 year span. And I was fortunate that Zurich Insurance in Canada had an ad in the paper for a VP of sales. And I applied and I got it. And I've been at Intact now, IFC, 25 years. Intact bought Zurich's personal lines in 2002. And that's how I came from Zurich to Intact. And it's been a wonderful career here at IFC. I've rotated in different senior positions. The last one being BrokerLink, running the brokerage part, an arm of IFC since 2018. So I ran Specialty Lines Canada previously for Intact. Now I'm doing a rotation in BrokerLink, and I've just loved every minute of it.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that risk that you took. Clearly, the role of broker was calling you. Tell me what you like about the broker side of things.
Yeah. I just love sales. I mean, I like to think I'm a people person. I just enjoyed. First, you have to want to do sales and can't be afraid of it. And one of my mentors told me a long time ago. This was at Allstate when I started in sales. You get quite dejected. Back then, you did cold calling from a telephone book, white pages. That's how you got leads. And and I remember my first day in sales at Allstate. Someone ripped out a page of the white pages, and there's probably 150 names on it, and said, "Don't come out of the room until you call every single one of them." And you get a lot of no's when you call prospecting, cold calling. Today, we don't have to do the cold calling that was required back then. There, Google and things like that. But, I get 10 no's and then 1 yes. And my sales manager would tell me that those were good things, that you're going to get 3 or 4 yeses out of 10. And out of 3, you're going to do a sale. And it's just a numbers game. And I'm a competitive guy, and then I wanted to beat that. I wanted to get 5 out of 10 interviews and 2 calls, and I got past the no's and look forward to the yeses, and so I've always enjoyed that part of the business, and then finding solutions for people. And when I became a broker and a partner, when I had the opportunity, 2018. To come back full circle to the broker side, I jumped at it, and it's been just a wild experience growing BrokerLink. I've got a fabulous team, we've got fabulous employees, so it makes it way easier. But I've just always wanted to grow a business, and we've done it organically and through acquisitions, as people know, at BrokerLink, and it's been quite the journey since 2018.
Yeah, for sure. What was it like when you decided to move from the U.S. to Canada? You'd mentioned that you were pretty much a partner in that brokerage.
Yeah.
What was it like, kind of going from that to not a partner, but then working your way back up to partnership? I just wondered what that experience was like.
No regrets at all. I mean, Zurich treated me fabulous. It was a little bit of a bumpy, not even a year into Zurich, and they're like, "Okay, we're going to be purchased," and here we go again. But I've always had faith in my abilities to, if I had to start over again, I would. And so, yeah.
Great. You did mention a mentor who tore that page out and told you to make all the calls. I was curious about who your mentors are. What other kind of advice?
I mean, I think I'm learning today even. I continue to learn, because I think once you stop learning, not sure that you can continue to improve if you stop learning. So I've had a bunch of mentors that I've been fortunate to have, some in the industry, some not. I find now at my age, I'm also mentoring quite a few younger folks, and I find joy in that I can give back But some of my mentors gave me some really good advice, not necessarily in the role itself, but overall, be authentic, be kind. One mentor, just be kind to people and you reap the rewards. Another one is be yourself, authentic. And so I've tried to take all those learnings from some of the people that I've been involved with that were quite successful and try to give it back now to, not only to my team, but also to different folks around the organization. And I think this is what makes this industry great, is the relationships you develop. And even though you may, leave companies and go to another company, those relationships withhold and they continue to grow, even though you may not work for the same company and your competitors and stuff. But the relationships really just continue to get strengthened. And I think most people in this industry would say the same, that they have very, very good friends that maybe not work with them in the same company or in the same brokerage, but over time, it's a small community, even though it's a big industry, right?
Oh, no, for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
There are people watching this who might want to be in your shoes. They may want to, be president of a brokerage. They may want to be a partner someday. You mentioned how difficult it was at the beginning. Am I doing the right thing? If you had any advice for them,
Sure.
what would you advise them to do?
I never started out, whether I was an agent at Allstate, a producer at the brokerage that I was a partner at, and then became sort of the manager of it, saying that I was going to be president of this big, huge brokerage one day. That never entered my mind, right? My philosophy or my advice to folks is take risks, move around in the organization, be curious. What's helped me is I've done probably 7 or 8 different rotations between Intact and then in my previous role, some other rotations there. So I got to learn different parts of the organization. And with a little bit of luck and a little bit of success, 25 years later, you look up and it's like, wow, okay, here we are. And so it wasn't ever anything that I said I'm going to be one day. It was just, I'm very competitive. I wanted to be the best I could be in the role that I had. And I always found, for me, what worked was, if I'm competing with 10 others, I want to be the best of those 10 in my peer group. And then as I moved up, I wanted to be the best in that peer group. And that worked for me. But so you have to find that inner motivation. And again, I played pretty competitive sports through my life, and I was just a competitive guy, and I just hate to lose, right? Although I will tell you, one of my mentors did say to me once, which I took to heart, and now I'm glad that that person said this to me, is I questioned why I wasn't getting a promotion at one time. And they said to me, you're very competitive, and yes, you like to beat your peers. You'll get promoted when you lift your peers and you compete with the outside, not the inside, folks. And that was an aha moment for me, because I always wanted to be the best. But they were right. You can be the best, but you can do it in a way where you're uplifting your peers instead of competing with them. And I had not thought of that, just right. And so that's when my career really took off. It wasn't, I still wanted to do really well, but I didn't have to beat them. It was about sharing what I had learned, lifting up people around me or my peers to be as good as they can. And that's when it turned for me. And that was probably one of the best pieces of advice I got from someone.
Terrific. Yeah. Yeah. I just, would people be able to do these days what you did in terms of starting their own brokerage? Would they have to do things differently than you did it?
Yeah. I was in my 40s when I started the brokerage. So it wasn't like, I had already been in the industry 15 years. And I was lucky that it was a startup, so it didn't take a lot of money. It was really taking a risk and losing a paycheck and benefits and saying, okay, I can do this. But look, I mentor young folks today, and I start with, I'm I'm Canadian citizen, obviously, but I came over to Canada when I was 2 years old, which from where I was born in Italy, and I failed kindergarten because that's the first year that I learned how to speak English, and so I'm even though I'm same as everybody else, where you're starting from scratch and you just work your way up. And I'm proof that if you work hard and a little bit of luck and you keep your head down and you're willing to learn and listen to folks rather than do it your way all the time, that you can be successful. And I think successful doesn't need to be president of a brokerage. It could be anything. It could be the best producer. It could be, we have some wonderful managers and directors that I think are very successful and are very good at what they do. And so I don't think it's a title that makes you successful. I think what your peers think of you, what your folks think of you. I get the best joy. We've hit some great numbers at BrokerLink. We've talked about reaching 5 billion and a bunch of other things. One of my biggest joy is my engagement. We're a best employer and how we treat our employees fairly with respect. Those are my biggest accomplishments. 5 billion is great, but that's not what I would put in my top three. My top three is that we have employees that are wonderful, that are committed to BrokerLink, enjoy the culture that we've, sort of grown here at BrokerLink. They want to come to work. They're best at customer service. They really care. Those are the things that give me joy, not necessarily a number or so.
And that wraps up today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the discussion. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on CU Interview, part of Canadian Underwriter's award-winning What's on Deck podcast series.